It began with a thin white envelope taped to my front door. Inside was a notice from the HOA claiming my simple wooden mailbox was non-standard and violated neighborhood guidelines. They demanded I replace it within 30 days or face fines. I stared at the mailbox, which had stood without complaint for years, weathered but functional. The absurdity of the demand lit a fire in me. Instead of paying their petty fee, I decided to give them exactly what they didn't want. Something unforgettable. That night, I sketched out plans for something monumental. The next weekend, a delivery truck dropped off pallets of gray stone blocks in my driveway. Neighbors peeked through blinds, whispering as I laid the foundation. At first, it looked like I was repairing landscaping, but within days, the base began to take shape. It wasn't just a mailbox anymore, it was a tower. Each stone clinked into place with purpose, drawing curious stares. Some admired the craftsmanship, while others muttered disapproval. The HOA board president parked near my house twice, taking photos. I worked late into the night, the tower climbing higher. By the second week, the stone tower rose taller than any fence on the block. My mailbox slot was embedded halfway up, accessible by a small carved archway. Cars slowed as they passed, some stopping entirely. Children pointed, adults frowned. On social media, pictures began circulating with captions like mailbox or fortress. I overheard neighbors gossiping that the HOA would shut it down any day now. But every time I checked the handbook, I found nothing forbidding stone, size, or height. The board had no rule against castles. The tension in the air thickened daily. Then it happened. Another envelope. This time, a fine for excessive structure violating neighborhood aesthetics. The wording was vague, deliberately so. They demanded immediate removal or escalating penalties. I laughed bitterly. My tower wasn't ugly, it was a landmark. I added battlements, shaping the top like a medieval castle, complete with tiny arrow slits carved into stone. Neighbors began stopping to take photos. A local Facebook group exploded with comments, half calling it art, half calling it an eyesore. The HOA board held an emergency meeting, and whispers of legal action began to spread. A video surfaced online. A teenager filmed my mailbox tower at sunset, the stone glowing gold. They titled it, HOA versus the Castle Mailbox. Overnight, the clip hit 1 million views. Journalists reached out asking for interviews. Cars began driving in from outside the neighborhood, families posing for pictures in front of the tower. Suddenly, my home became a roadside attraction. The HOA doubled down, sending threats of lawsuits. But the more they pushed, the more attention the castle drew. News anchors debated it on morning shows and hashtags trended. My mailbox had become a phenomenon. The board circulated a petition to have the mailbox forcibly removed. Flyers filled mailboxes across the neighborhood, demanding restoration of order. But something unexpected happened. Signatures of support for keeping the tower multiplied faster. People argued that property values were rising from the publicity, and some suggested themed block parties. The HOA board fumed, but their power slipped as neighbors grew louder in support. I added finishing touches, a flag bearing a mailbox emblem fluttering at the top. Tourists dropped letters and 4 selfies, even though only my mail went inside.
Oh.
The castle was unstoppable now. The HOA filed a lawsuit, dragging me into court. They claimed the tower was unsafe, unsightly, and against the spirit of community rules. My lawyer countered with structural reports, proof of safety in the absence of any rule violations. Supporters packed the courtroom. Reporters filled the halls. The judge raised an eyebrow at the photos but saw no legal basis for removal. The HOA lost. Defeated, they stormed out, vowing to rewrite the bylaws. I walked free, my mailbox untouchable. Outside, cameras flashed as if I had won a championship. The castle had triumphed. Months later, the tower still stood proudly, draped in ivy. Tourists continued to visit, and local businesses sold postcards of the castle mailbox. My home was forever marked on Google Maps as a landmark. The HOA, humiliated, rewrote its rules, but grandfathered my mailbox in, unable to erase its fame. New neighbors moved in, some choosing the area specifically because of the castle. What began as a petty fine turned into a symbol of defiance and creativity. Every time I walked past the tower, I smiled, knowing the HOA had built my legend for me.